Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Alex, and I lead OpenAI Academy. I'm super excited that you're here for today's session, Intro to ChatGPT. At OpenAI Academy, we believe AI should be accessible to everybody, and today's session is all about showing you how you can start using ChatGPT, the free version, to help solve everyday problems. In just a minute, we'll jump into a 35-minute training, and it's designed to give you a hands-on introduction to what ChatGPT can do for you, how you can get better results with your prompts, and a few practical examples that you can start using right away. After the video, don't go anywhere because we'll be back for a live Q&A with my colleague Mustafa. He's a solutions engineer here at OpenAI, and he's worked with all kinds of users, so he'll be great to answer your questions, which you can submit during the session. So thanks again for being here, and let's dive in.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to an introduction to ChatGPT. I'm excited to show you how ChatGPT can support you in everyday tasks, whether it's planning a vacation, getting help with creative writing, or even tackling some work or study projects. By the end of this session, you'll have a better understanding of what ChatGPT can do and the types of input it can process and generate. How to ask ChatGPT to reason or think more deeply across harder tasks. How to navigate the ChatGPT interface and customize your basic settings. And some best practices for prompting so that you can get the most from ChatGPT. Before diving in, here's a quick overview about OpenAI. Our mission is to ensure that artificial general intelligence benefits everyone. We've created advanced AI models like GPT-4o, which can process and generate text, understand images, and even respond to voice queries. ChatGPT can assist you with brainstorming, research, creative projects, writing, coding, and much, much more. Today, we're going to explore by taking a look at how ChatGPT handles text, voice, and images in a single conversation. And we often call this multimodality. This is the ability for ChatGPT to process and handle a very wide range of input. Then we're going to take a look at basic tips to get the most out of ChatGPT for both personal and professional tasks. Let's kick off by helping you to navigate around the interface. When you jump into ChatGPT, you will see the chat window right in front of you. This is the way that you interact with ChatGPT, and if you're new to ChatGPT, this is really all you need to worry about for now. The chat window is where you enter in your prompt. And a prompt is just a fancy way of saying, how do you ask ChatGPT a question or an instruction? To trigger a new chat or to start over, you simply click the new chat icon, and that will generate a new chat for you to start a new conversation. Let's start with a really simple example. I'm going to enter in text or a prompt, and I will get text out. Let's start by adding in my first prompt. Here I'm saying, help me plan a 3-day weekend trip to Seattle. I want to see local art, try the best coffee shops, and experience nature. Could you create an itinerary that balances these interests? To ask that request of ChatGPT, I simply click the black arrow, and ChatGPT will process that request. And straight away, we can see a response here, which is a well-balanced 3-day itinerary for this specific trip. We have day 1 broken down into morning, afternoon, and evening. We have day 2 focused around coffee and nature. And we also have day 3, which is a day trip and more art. Essentially, when I asked a request of ChatGPT using text, I got a text-based response. This is incredibly valuable and a great starting point. You can ask ChatGPT a really broad range of questions and requests, and it will respond to you. I would encourage you all to really experiment and to try and ask ChatGPT a really broad range of questions. This will help you to understand what it can do for you and how it can help you in both a personal and professional setting. Let's move on to show you how you interact with ChatGPT using your voice. You can use text and you can ask text-based requests, but you can now also interact with ChatGPT using your voice. To do this, I simply click on New Chat. I come back into the chat window and notice that the Use Voice mode is in the bottom right-hand corner. When I click this, this is going to take me into a new interactive view, and I will be able to converse with ChatGPT in real time. This is really helpful if I want to go hands-free. Maybe I don't want to type out a really long prompt. Maybe I want to communicate to get my thoughts and ideas and questions out really quickly and efficiently.
Hello, it's lovely to meet you. If there's anything you need, please don't hesitate to let me know. I'm here to help.
I'm organising a family reunion. Can you suggest some fun, family-friendly activities for a group of 20 people?
That sounds like a lot of fun. For a group of 20 people, you could consider activities like 1. Picnic in a park. Choose a large park where everyone can relax, play games, and enjoy a meal together. You can bring outdoor games like frisbee, volleyball, or even a scavenger hunt. 2. Board game tournament. Set up tables with different board games and let families compete in a friendly tournament. You can even have small prizes for winners. 3. Cooking or barbecue challenge. Divide the group into teams and have a friendly cooking or barbecue competition. Everyone can taste and vote for their favorite dish. Outdoor
Amazing.
adventure.
ChatGPT, thank you. That's really helpful. But is there anything we should consider if a lot of the family has young children?
Absolutely. If there are young children in the group, here are a few extra considerations. 1. Child-friendly locations. Choose places with playgrounds or safe open spaces for kids to play. Parks with designated children's areas are great. 2. Interactive activities. Plan activities that are engaging for kids, like crafts, storytelling, or a simple treasure hunt. 3. Flexible timing. Keep the schedule flexible to accommodate nap times or breaks for young children. 4. Safety first. Ensure the area is safe and child-proofed as much as possible, with plenty of adult supervision.
Perfect.
These adjustments.
Thank you, ChatGPT. I appreciate it. Great. So what you can see there, it was a pretty basic example, but I was conversing back and forth with ChatGPT and engaging in a conversation about how I plan this family reunion. ChatGPT's voice mode is really great at simulating live interactions. It can be used for something like planning a family reunion, or it can also be used for something like interview prep. In any scenario where you might want some guidance, you might want to converse back and forth, and you want to simulate a human-like interaction, voice mode is going to be perfect for you. What's great about voice mode is once the conversation has ended, the entire conversation is captured in a chat. That means you can go back, read the conversation, but also re-engage ChatGPT at any time. What I've shown you so far is how you interact with ChatGPT using text and how you interact with ChatGPT using your voice. Let's move on to show how you can provide ChatGPT with an image and ask for a text-based output. Again, anytime I am changing topic or switching conversation, I trigger the new chat icon. In this example, what we're doing is leveraging the plus sign to upload an image. You can upload a range of different file types and ask ChatGPT to analyze the file or the image and provide you with a text-based response. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my image. And this is a whiteboard image from a team offsite. Of course, you can use ChatGPT for both personal and work-based use cases. In this example, we were running a Q4 retro, trying to understand how the team performed. Vision within ChatGPT is ChatGPT's ability to analyze an image and then respond to you in text. So rather than me taking this image and manually typing out the results in a spreadsheet or a document, I can simply upload it into ChatGPT and ask for the analysis directly. To do this, I simply then add in the prompt, summarize the key points in this whiteboard image. What we're going to do is send that across. And you can see that ChatGPT does a really great job of identifying everything that's in the image, but in text. I can simply copy and paste this text, either like this, or using the copy function at the bottom, and extract all of that information and add it directly into my Word doc. Vision is incredible. It will allow you to analyze a huge range of different images and again, get that text-based output. Have a think this week about how you could leverage vision, whether it's in your personal life or at work. What we want to do now is move away from voice, vision, and text, and we now want to take a look at how ChatGPT can generate images for you using a single prompt. Again, we navigate to the new chat icon, and in this example, I'm asking ChatGPT to be incredibly creative. I'm asking, generate a whimsical watercolor-style digital painting of a cat gazing at the moon in a quiet suburban background. We are going to send that across. And ChatGPT is actually smart enough to know that you want an image based on what you wrote in your prompt. You can see there that I've been explicit that I want this image of a cat. And here we have this whimsical watercolor styled painting. If I want to advance this image or edit this image, I simply click into it and it takes me into the edit screen. You have a couple of options here. You have the lasso icon, which will allow you to identify specific areas of the image that you want to edit. You can also download or save an image. And you can also chat back and forth with ChatGPT to change the image if you so wish. To exit this view, we simply click close and we'll come back into this view here. Image creation is incredible for inspiring a range of creative activities. We've seen and heard that people have created bespoke images to go in children's storybooks to help with bedtime reading. We've also seen a range of professionals use ChatGPT to generate images to help them think about a proof of concept. Again, we encourage experimentation. Please jump in and test things out. Try and create an image today or this week for a bit of fun. Let's move away from multimodal capabilities. So to recap, multimodality is ChatGPT's ability to process a large range of input. You can see that we uploaded an image, we used text-based prompts, and we also engaged in a conversation with voice. ChatGPT, beyond the multimodal experience, is really great at reasoning. Reasoning is powered by advanced models like OpenAI's O1. Let's give an example. Let's imagine that I want to do some financial planning. I have a specific scenario and figures that I want to share with ChatGPT, and I'm trying to understand how much budget I allocate towards something like a down payment on a house, and also what percentage of my income I should be directing to retirement. This type of scenario requires logic, reasoning, planning. It's a lot more complex than just asking ChatGPT to help you plan a trip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my prompt and I'm going to walk you through this prompt step by step. In this prompt, I'm saying, I'm Mia, 34 years old, earning $50,000 a year as a customer service supervisor. I have $5,000 in savings, $7,000 in student loans, and $2,000 in credit card debt. My current savings goals include building a healthy emergency fund and saving for a down payment on a home within the next 3 to 5 years. I also want to make sure I'm contributing enough to retirement. I'm not sure how to balance my debts and saving goals. Could you lay out a step-by-step approach that helps me decide how much to allocate towards paying down the debt versus building an emergency fund? Figuring out how to save for a future home down payment, given my budget and debt load. Identify what percentage of my income should I be directing to retirement. And please give a structured plan that prioritizes my short-term debt and emergency savings without losing sight of my longer-term goals or home ownership and retirement security. When we're engaging with reasoning models, it's important to provide as much detail as possible about what you want the model to do. Here, we're really spelling out the scenario, what's going on for us, but we're also being very clear about our expectation. We are clearly identifying the steps and the output that we are looking for from the model. This is really important. We're going to touch on prompt engineering best practices a little bit later on, but being very clear and concise and providing ChatGPT with as much context as possible is really important to ensure that you get an output that is valuable. If we want to engage the reasoning model, all we need to do is click reasoning. We then send that across. And what you'll notice is ChatGPT will tell you what it is doing. You can see here that the reasoning model is modeling and planning these scenarios, and it will tell you that it thought for 8 seconds. What's great about this specific reasoning model 01 is that it will tell you roughly what it has done to generate the output. So it's easier for us to follow along and understand how ChatGPT got to the answer that it did. And here we have a structured step-by-step plan that adapts as our situation evolves. First of all, we've got an assessment of the current situation. We've then got a section here on prioritizing high interest debt. The section here on building a robust emergency fund and a phased approach with suggestions around allocation. A section on how we think about saving for a home down payment. The section around ensuring that we're also contributing to a retirement fund. How to create a budget and allocate our income. And then we have a section to monitor and adjust and a final summary. This is a really comprehensive response from ChatGPT. In less than 8 seconds, we have a plan to help us think about how we prioritize our own finances. This is much more advanced and more strategic than if we were to lean on GPT-4o, which is the model that we were engaging with for simple text-based requests. You can come and use the reasoning model at any time to help you, again, in domains like math, science, coding, strategy, and logistics. It's very, very good at planning. So for example, we just did financial planning. It can also help you strategize at work. If you have a complex strategy or a plan you need to put together for a pitch, it's going to guide you through that using reasoning and logic. What I want to do now is I want to help you navigate around the interface. Coming back into ChatGPT, we have discussed the chat window and generating a new chat. But what we haven't touched on is the chat history on the left-hand side. Every single time I click new chat, a chat is generated and will be stored in my history on the left-hand side. At any time, we can come back into these chats to look at the content and to potentially re-engage with ChatGPT. One thing you'll notice is that anywhere you see 3 dots in ChatGPT, that will mean you have the ability to add actions. In this example, we can delete the chat, we can archive the chat, rename, and also share. Above chats, we have GPTs. GPTs can be thought of as customized assistants that can help you with specific, repeatable tasks. You might be wondering, why would I use a GPT or why would I create one? Well, every time you want to create a chat, you have to add in instructions and a prompt. Creating a GPT allows you to preset the prompt and program the GPT to operate in the same way every time. That means if you do a lot of writing and you write in a specific style, you can create a GPT to ensure that every time you have a writing exercise, the output is standardized. We're going to come back to GPTs a little bit later on, and I'm going to talk about the GPT store. What I want to do now is navigate over to the right-hand corner of the screen. You will notice a circular avatar, and typically your name will be populated in the avatar. When you click on the circular avatar, this is how you navigate towards your settings. You can explore GPTs, which we'll come back to, but you can also customize your ChatGPT experience. This is really important. I would encourage you all to do this today. When you tell ChatGPT more about you, who you are, and what you do, the higher the chance of a more personalized response from ChatGPT every single time. In this example, I'm an education professional at OpenAI. I want ChatGPT to be chatty, witty, and encouraging. Now, of course, you can personalize this to suit your needs. If you are predominantly focused on work use cases, you can make it professional, factual, and friendly. If you're using it for more personal use cases like planning trips or planning family reunions, you can make it more quirky to suit your needs. Of course, you can also identify your interests and tell ChatGPT more about you as well. You can toggle on Enable for all chats, and that will mean that from this point forward, all chats will respond in this manner. I simply click Save, and that will customize my ChatGPT experience. Let's navigate back to settings to show you a couple of other really important areas. You can change your theme from light to dark. You can, of course, select the language that is relevant to you. And you have the ability to archive or delete all chats. Of course, you can delete a single chat using the 3-dot option, or you can wipe all of your chats if you so wish. Coming down to personalization, let's talk about memory. If you really do want to personalize your experience and you want ChatGPT to remember specific things about you or specific interactions, memory will allow you to do that. You can, of course, turn that on and off. Let's come down to speech. When I engaged with ChatGPT earlier, you would have noticed I had chosen a specific voice with a specific accent. All you need to do to change that is click on the accent and select one that suits you. Coming back into general settings, there are a couple of other options here as well. You have some data controls, your builder profile, and also some connected apps as well. You can actually integrate with Google Drive and Microsoft OneDrive so that you can easily access files. Let's come away from settings and let's jump back into the GPT store. To do that, we come up here, we click on Explore GPTs, and that will drop us into the GPT page. This is where you can find GPTs that sit within a specific category. For example, writing, productivity, research and analysis, education, and you have the ability to click into the GPT to understand more about it and what it can do. If you like the sound of a GPT and you think it might be helpful, you can simply click Start Chat. For example, when we come over to the resume GPT, you can see that there is a nice detailed overview or description that is telling you and advising you on how to write resumes. Again, this can be really, really helpful if you are searching for a new job and you want some writing support. You could simply upload your draft resume, and this GPT is going to help you get to a really great outcome. Let's come back into ChatGPT and let's start using it for a writing scenario. Again, to do that, I trigger a new chat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask ChatGPT for some feedback on my blog post. I'm going to ask a simple prompt. I'm going to say, please provide feedback on my blog post. I'd like it to be clear, concise, and friendly. ChatGPT is going to come back and say, of course, can you share the blog post with me? What we're going to do is we're going to copy and paste the blog post into the chat window at the bottom, and then we're going to send it across to ChatGPT. First of all, ChatGPT has come back and identified the strengths of this blog post. It said that it's engaging, clear, friendly, and approachable. But what's really valuable about this response is that ChatGPT has now suggested these improvements. We need to tweak the introduction to be more impactful. We might want to smooth out the feature list. And we also want to clarify the call to action. Again, this is really helpful. I can use ChatGPT as a coach for professional writing tasks like emails, blog posts, and creating a report. I can also use ChatGPT again for planning that family reunion and creating the invites. ChatGPT is general purpose technology, which means that there are really an infinite number of use cases that you can use it for. All I would need to do is go back and re-engage with ChatGPT and tweak this blog post over time. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into ChatGPT and I'm going to show you how you can leverage it for code. I'm going to trigger a new chat. And here I'm going to ask, please help me debug this HTML code. It has some layout issues that I can't figure out. And let's see if ChatGPT is able to help me debug this specific piece of code. Straight away, ChatGPT has identified that there are a few issues with this piece of code. Issues and fixes. And now we have the fixed code. We could simply copy this code and take it into any system or platform that we are currently using. And that's a really quick and easy way to help us change code, debug it, and get to a solution very quickly. What we've just done is we have navigated around the interface. We've customized our settings. We've used ChatGPT to help us with a blog post and improve our writing. And we've also used it to debug code. Now what I want to do is show you how you can use ChatGPT when you're working with files. And ChatGPT is great at reading files and providing you with an analysis. To do that, we trigger a new chat. And what we're going to do now is we're going to add in a prompt. I also want to talk about prompting. Throughout this session, we would have noticed that I have referred to prompting as asking a request or an instruction of ChatGPT. Prompting, or prompt engineering, as it's commonly known in the field, is really the craft of designing and refining the language you use to get the best from AI models. An effective prompt really boils down to two things. You need to provide context and also be very clear on your expectations with ChatGPT. So, for example, the context is who you are, what you're working on, and any necessary details ChatGPT should know about the task in hand. The expectation is when you are identifying to ChatGPT exactly what you want it to deliver. Do you want it to provide you with a summary? Do you want a list of bullet points? Do you want a specific outline? Do you want a specific analysis or piece of research investigated? You need to be really clear about what you're expecting. What's really interesting is lots of people will use ChatGPT and they'll say, this feels very similar to Google search. I'm not getting a very valuable response. If you feel that your response from ChatGPT is not particularly valuable, have a look at the prompt that you used and confirm that you provided enough context and a clear expectation. Top tip from us, communicate with ChatGPT like it is a human. Humans really like a lot of context and clarity, and they perform best at tasks when they are given as much detail as possible. So if you're ever unsure what to say, come back to that analogy and imagine you are giving a human a task to do. I want to show you an example of a vague prompt to make this really clear. And then I want to show you a refined version of that prompt and the output that you get. An example of a vague prompt would look something like this. Summarize this research paper. I'm then going to add in the research paper. And let's see what we get back from ChatGPT. Straight away, we get a summary of the paper and the key contributions. We get the limitations and the challenges, and we also get the impact. So you can see here that this is a very high-level overview. This might be what we were looking for, but more often than not, when we're analyzing something as complex as a research paper, we typically want more details in specific areas to help us with a task. And so that is where prompt refinement comes in. How can we better design the language and direct ChatGPT to a really valuable output? So now let's show you a refined version or an improved version of this prompt, and let's take a look at the answer to show you how valuable it is to spend some extra time thinking about your communication with ChatGPT. I am now adding in a very detailed version of a prompt. Here I am saying I am a researcher analyzing a paper on computational geometry, specifically the concept of geometry images for surface representation. Attached is a research paper that includes various figures and diagrams. I need a detailed breakdown of each image, including its context, key features, and its relevance to the concepts discussed in the paper. Let's break this down. You can see there that I am providing a lot of context. I'm saying that I am a researcher and I am analyzing this specific situation or theme. I'm then layering in the expectation. I need a detailed breakdown of each image, including its context, key features, and relevance to the concepts. You can see that by being very explicit, clear, and concise, that I'm really outlining what I am looking for from ChatGPT. So just remember the last output that I got. Now let's upload the paper, pair it with this new refined prompt, and let's see what we get back. ChatGPT has come back and said, I reviewed the research and I've provided a breakdown of each figure, including context, key features, and relevance to the paper concept. Here's how we can proceed. It's then giving some suggestions and it's asking, would you like me to provide this breakdown as a structured document, or would you prefer an interactive discussion here? You can see that ChatGPT is already asking us a series of almost clarifying statements and actually outlining how it's going to proceed. It's almost confirming that this is what we want and this is how we want to move forward. I'm going to respond and say, provide this as a structured document. And let's see what we get back. And what we can see is that because we wanted this specific response in a document, we have now gone into an interactive view within ChatGPT. This interactive view is called Canvas, and Canvas is the ability to partner with ChatGPT on writing tasks. You will notice there that it automatically triggered. When ChatGPT identifies that you have a comprehensive piece of writing or it is doing a writing task for you, it will automatically open Canvas. So let's walk through this response and let's talk a little bit more about Canvas. You can see that we've got a breakdown of figures. So if we go back to this prompt that we asked, that's specifically what we asked for. We have the figure 2 and the improvement process. We have figure 3. So ChatGPT has reviewed the images within this document and then provided us with an overview of that image. You can see just how detailed this response is. When we continue to scroll down, we also have a conclusion as well. This response is far more valuable to me doing a specific task. So you can see there that when I am explicit and I provide the context and the expectation, I get back a far more valuable response. Just very briefly, let's talk a little bit more about Canvas and how you can use it for writing. At any stage, I can go back and prompt ChatGPT to change things about its response. I can simply have a conversation in the left-hand side, and this view here will be edited. The most important thing to note is the edit feature at the bottom of Canvas. You can see that we have suggest edits. We can adjust the length of the text. We can adjust the reading level. We can add a final polish. And we can also add some emojis as well. To summarize, in this introduction of ChatGPT, we've covered engaging with ChatGPT using text. We've covered multimodality and how you can use a range of different inputs to get various outputs. We've navigated around the interface and talked about customizing your settings to personalize your experience. We've touched on GPTs and the GPT store, and we've also talked about prompting, uploading files, and how prompting is really the key to getting a valuable response from ChatGPT. Thanks for tuning in. Really hope that this was helpful.
Awesome. Thanks for sticking with us, everybody. And nice to see you again. So I'm Alex. I lead OpenAI Academy, and we have Mustafa here joining. Mustafa, can you just introduce yourself and maybe tell us a little bit about how you first got into AI?
For sure. So thank you, Alex. So Mustafa, I'm an engineer here at OpenAI. So really my job is to work with kind of like large enterprises on how to best deploy AI. So whether it's through ChatGPT, which we kind of saw right now, or through API integrations. And that's kind of like where it gets really cool, where you end up building some just like really bespoke solutions, which I really just really enjoy. And yeah, for your AI question, I've actually been fascinated since like I joined college, right? I took a class and I thought it was very, very cool. Been following Sam since his YC days. So that's how I found out about OpenAI. Like Twitter has been a big part of it. Hacker News has been another big part of it. So yeah.
Awesome. And I'm curious, have you seen any ChatGPT use cases in the wild that either like really impressed you or really surprised you? Like what are some of your favorite use cases you've seen?
That's a great question. I mean, so here's the funny thing. I've been like personally using ChatGPT since it came out, and I've been like evangelizing it to like friends and family. So just seeing like my own like friends, family, uncles, aunts like use ChatGPT like for translation, talking to it as a therapist sometimes. Like the image gen stuff I thought was very wild. I'm building like this fun use case for a client where you can upload a picture of some clothes that you like, a picture of a model, and then have ChatGPT like imagine what it would look like on that. And you can just like do this straight in ChatGPT with nothing extra.
Super cool. Okay, so I'm going to jump into some of the questions that have been coming through in the chat. So to kick off, there's a few questions around analyzing data. So I wonder if maybe you could just kind of share some best practices, like how would you think about using ChatGPT for data analysis?
Yeah. So, and just for some background, and I know we just mentioned it right now, but ChatGPT is really good when you uploaded some context or some information, and you just ask it to maybe like first what I've seen really work is just ask it like, what are some good things that I want to know about this data, right? Like some metrics, and maybe like the best way to graph this data. So kind of like have this conversation before you have it do some work. So that would be the first trick. The second trick is don't throw all your data there at once. Really what I like to do is just kind of give it the structure and then a couple of rows of data, just to kind of like get it to like understand like what is it that I'm trying to output. And then when everything is good, that's when I start throwing all the data at it.
Awesome. So somebody's curious about, what can you do in terms of data analysis without actually uploading the data? But it sounds like one thing you're saying is if you actually just describe the data, you could ask it for advice, or kind of how would you think about it? Like, what can you do without actually uploading the data set?
Exactly. So, I mean, that would be exactly it. So essentially what you're trying to upload is kind of like the schema. So not like the actual data, but like the shape of the data, like what the tables that you have, like how they link with each other. And you can even ask ChatGPT to actually create mock data for you. Kind of just to kind of like, instead of you spending the time and wasting time to create random data, give it that schema, ask it to create this data for you, and then have it like generate the bar charts, like the analysis you want. And you can do all of that without really uploading your own data.
Cool. Awesome. So we have some questions about voice mode, and I'm curious about this one. Can ChatGPT in voice mode, can it pick up on human tone and emotion in a voice? And is there anything that we should know about that?
Yeah, I actually answered this question in there, and I sent a link. So just make sure you like open it. I think it's a very, very cool link. But really, yes, the answer is yes. When ChatGPT or when the speech-to-speech model was trained, it was trained on not just the actual words, but really like the waveforms. So it was able to like pick up like nuanced information more than just the actual like text that is being said. So if someone says like, I'm really happy, but they sound not, ChatGPT is actually able to pick up on that. It's also multimodal. So you can have like I speak Arabic, for example, like I can speak to it in Arabic, have it respond back in French. And it's able to also change its tone and how it answers like ChatGPT itself. You can get it to speak very fast, very slow. And you can actually also test this for free on openai.fm. And you can test this out as well.
Cool. So that's a good resource for people, openai.fm.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So then there's some questions around kind of how OpenAI uses conversations for improving the models or for training them. What can you share about that?
Yeah. So that's a really good question. So maybe like if we take a step back and we really think about what is ChatGPT, right? So, or just like a GPT, like a generative pre-trained transformer. Essentially, it's a whole corpus of data, and we train it to be able to be really good at predicting the next word. So the more data we give it, the more instructions and training that we do on our end, the better it gets. So that's really like the main use that we use the conversations for, which is kind of like see what really worked. If you notice there's a thumbs up and thumbs down button that you can kind of like click on to kind of give us an idea of how happy or unhappy you are with the answers.
Got it.
Yeah, and just one thing to know is if you're on an enterprise plan, we don't train on any of this data.
Got it. And also, if you have a Plus account, you can turn off the you can opt out of having your conversations used for training. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Okay, so tons of questions about prompt engineering, and I know it seems like everybody has their own kind of favorite approach for prompt engineering. But how do you think about it? Is there a certain kind of framework that you like to use or tell your customers to use?
Yeah.
Anything there?
Yes, it's a great question. So, how I started is I actually started asking ChatGPT what is the best way to prompt engineer, and kind of had ChatGPT source some ideas for me. So some of them were kind of adding some context on top. The other was making sure that the question is very clear. My personal favorite is using like an XML-like format. So like have like some brackets and be like, this is the context, close it. This is the question, close it. And you're kind of like directing ChatGPT to like, no, this is exactly where to get this information from. This is the question that I try and answer. There's an idea of few-shot prompting. This is just fancy for giving ChatGPT examples. So ChatGPT does really, really well when you give it like 4 or 5 examples of what good looks like. And when you do that, the next answer tends to be better.
Cool. Yeah, and I love that, asking ChatGPT for help prompting. One way I like to use that is for creating images where, I'm not a super creative person, and sometimes I maybe could use help thinking of what's a really good prompt for an image I'm trying to create. And I'll actually ask ChatGPT, oh, can you create a prompt for this image? And then I can just tweak it and edit it. So, I think that's really good advice. If you're struggling for, how to best use ChatGPT, sometimes the best answer to that is to ask ChatGPT for help.
Yeah, you could do a voice, you could do a text. Yeah, you could even like video call ChatGPT, which is really interesting. Kind of like FaceTiming it.
Yeah. Well, on that note, somebody was asking about the videos. Is it possible for ChatGPT to like watch a recorded video and then share back information about it or answer questions about it?
Yeah, it's a great question. So not directly. So ChatGPT, using advanced voice mode, you're able to kind of like, let's say on your phone, you're able to turn on the camera and have it like see the area surrounding you. So you can use that. However, for like, let's say if there's a YouTube video out there, you can directly give it the link and have it like watch that. What you could do is you could kind of like usually like generate that transcript and throw it to ChatGPT and have it like do some analysis for you on that.
Cool.
But right now, not natively.
Okay, but you could also, you could record a video of yourself, for example, and send that. Or no?
What do you mean?
Like, could you record a video of yourself on your phone and upload that?
Yeah, so the weird thing about ChatGPT is you can't really upload a video, but you can stream a video. So if you in this voice mode, like if it's being streamed, that's fine. But right now we don't have the ability to like upload a video.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. We can talk about Sora though.
Yeah. Tell us about Sora.
No, Sora's cool. The cool thing about Sora is we were talking about like image gen, right? You give ChatGPT some text, create me a picture of like a flying potato, and it would like create an image of that. With Sora, you can take that a step further and create a video out of it. So you can do a 5-second video, 15-second video. You can have it landscape, portrait mode, and you can also like toggle like what the quality should be like.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
And so people can actually check Sora out at Sora.com. That's probably the easiest way to get access to it.
Yep.
So we have some questions about like projects and GPTs. I guess, first of all, how would you kind of distinguish when to use a project and what the difference is versus a GPT?
Another great question. I love the questions, man. So the way I've been using projects and custom GPTs. So projects is, think of it like as a project on your computer, right? Or a folder on your computer where you're dragging similar conversations together. So if I'm talking to a client X and I want to show them or working on a set of functionalities together or have some shared ideas that we want to work on, it would be in a project folder. So that would be what a project is for. A custom GPT is making ChatGPT answer the same kind of way using the same tools for every time someone like triggers a conversation with. So a great use case that I usually see or utilize for a custom GPT is HR. HR has some policies about PTO, when you can go on leave, things like that. They can upload some PDFs, make a custom GPT that knows really about the company, and then share it with their employees. Employees can go in, ask the questions about, how many days of vacation do I get a year, and it will get them the answer factually. So custom GPTs, you can kind of share it around. You can do it within an organization or within just like the public.
Cool.
Yeah.
And what about I'm curious if you have any examples of maybe, custom GPTs or projects that you use personally.
Custom GPTs or products that I used. Actually, there's a couple. So for custom GPTs, there was this one I was telling you about with HR. There is one where I created like an action. and it connects to Snowflake. So that's just like a database, and it's able to actually get the data from them and does some data analysis for me. So yeah, so that is really cool. And projects is mostly just part of my job. Is I talk to a lot of customers, and I feel like the conversations that I want to have for them is kind of all over the place. Like, this is a really nice way to like kind of just like group them together.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think, just to give one kind of like non-work example, I use a project for cooking. And so what I did is in the instructions, I actually tell ChatGPT what I have in my kitchen. So I say, I have a microwave and a toaster, and here's the things I usually have in my fridge. And that way I can say, oh, can you give me a recipe for this? And it will say, oh, well, I know you have these tools or these ingredients, so here's how you can use them. Or
great.
I'll take a picture of the food in my fridge and say, what can I make with what I've got here?
One thing to add is I actually use the video mode, like the video input mode, while I'm cooking. So I usually have the camera on sometimes. I'm like, what do you think? Like, should I increase the temperature? Like, what am I doing? It's just easier to like kind of like not type and cook at the same time, but like have your phone and do that. So
yeah, that's particularly useful if you've messed something up. Like I did something wrong here. Can you help me recover this meal?
1,000%. I actually had a friend. This was like last weekend actually. He messed up his car. And we were like in the middle of the highway, and instead of calling someone, we ended up pulling like ChatGPT out and having it like help us like debug on the side of the highway. So it helped in a stressful situation. So that was nice.
Awesome, cool. So yeah, so there's a few examples there of kind of how you can think about projects. Let me see what other questions we have coming in here. Okay, so what are hallucinations, and how should users think about them?
Yeah. So it really comes back to what is ChatGPT, and kind of like I was talking about, ChatGPT is trained on just think of ChatGPT as trained on the internet, right? It knows a lot of facts, but there is always a cutoff date. So for the current version, last time we trained it, like let's say it was a year ago. If things happen after that, and ChatGPT is not connected to the internet, it tends to try and satisfy you and just give you an answer, right? So if I ask it like who won the Oscars last month, and it was trained in May, then it might just like kind of guess that it might be someone who's famous. The way we tackle this is in two ways. One, give ChatGPT the ability to kind of say, I don't know, and then go to the internet and get the latest information. So that's the first part. And then the second part is actually we do what's called post-training, and we kind of show ChatGPT like what is a good answer and what's a bad answer, and kind of like teaching it to just say in general, like, I don't know. Right. So when we first released it, like it was just like really bad at that. It just wanted to always make you happy. But over time, we're making it a lot more like grounded and like fact-based.
Got it.
Yeah.
And what about web search? Like, where does that come in? I was thinking about the Oscars example.
Yeah. So web search is really for let's say I'll give you a great example that I use when coding. Right. So with coding, a lot of the libraries, they change the documentation quite a bit. And if ChatGPT was trained on a specific way to use a library from a year ago and it changed, then the code it gives me kind of breaks and it's unusable. So usually what I do is I prompt it to make sure to like check the latest documentation, kind of understand that first, and then help me write that code. And that would be a really good example there. But really, just web search is giving ChatGPT the ability to like Google something, and it would go kind of like put a query, kind of like we humans do, get the answers, and then feed it as part of the prompt for itself.
Cool. Awesome. So we had one question about how somebody could think about using ChatGPT if their goal is to learn how to become an AI engineer. Do you have any thoughts on that? Like, do you think ChatGPT can be a useful tool for that kind of learning?
1,000%. 1,000%. So there's a couple of ways I would kind of like attack that. First is I would honestly ask ChatGPT what is an AI engineer, and try and figure out like what is it that I'm trying to learn, right? Am I trying to become a software engineer that is able to code much faster? Do I want to be a prompt engineer? So maybe it's a good conversation to have with ChatGPT and kind of figure this out. So that would be the first thing. The second thing is if you are like a Plus or a Pro member and you have access to a reasoning model like O3, I would actually kind of then prompt it to think really, really well about what a great AI engineer looks like based on the conversation that we've had, and actually prompted to use the internet and kind of like gather a learning plan for me. And I've actually seen an example for that the other day of someone like Having that conversation with ChatGPT and having it go to like get Stanford links and like Harvard links that are just like public, and kind of create like a work plan for them to go watch and get better. And as you're learning, it's a great tool to help you like debug problems that you run into as well. So
awesome.
yeah.
And I mean, I think that can extend to like all sorts of things you might want to learn. So if it's whether it's becoming an AI engineer or learning, a new skill or language. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so this is a fun question I get a lot. What do you think about using kind of terms of politeness, like, saying please or thanking ChatGPT? Like, does that affect the performance? Should people think about incorporating language like that?
I mean, I think it's always good to be polite, so it's a good thing to do. I don't actually know if it really makes the response better. If I'm being honest with you, I've actually tended to also just kind of like push back at ChatGPT and be like, you're extremely wrong. And sometimes I get better at that. So one of the things I'd really encourage people to do is just kind of like experiment and figure out like what works for you. One thing that's kind of a little bit unrelated to this question is ChatGPT has memory. And think of it as it has kind of like different levels of memory. It has short-term memory. So while you're kind of in a conversation, it just remembers kind of like the context of that conversation. You can ask it explicitly, hey, remember this specific thing for like later conversations. And then it has the ability to like dream every night. So every night it kind of thinks about the conversations you've had of it. It creates a kind of like this kind of like background memory for you. And then the next day you have a conversation with it. It kind of has that in the background. So some fun examples I've seen is people ask it to kind of guess their personality based on that. Or another fun one is I've had people like just ask it to roast them, right? It knows different fun facts about you and it just kind of just goes, it's kind of like fun in that regard.
Super cool.
Yeah.
And on this memory note, there's a question asking, how long does ChatGPT remember a conversation?
You can customize it. So for memories that you add specifically, you can actually like go and delete those. And you can turn off the ability to like remember like those like dreaming moments.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're just about running out of time. Mustafa, is there anything else you want to share? Anything I didn't ask you that you wish I had asked you?
I don't know specifically. I just honestly think this is like one of the coolest things that's happening right now. We have a tool that's able to help us just do our jobs better or just like live better lives. So use it, try different things. Things that you think it might not be able to do, it might surprise you. So just kind of keep trying different things. Like I said, it's really good at like the multimodal stuff. So if you don't speak English as a first language, it's actually a great tool for you. If you're learning how to code, and again, English is not good for you, you can speak to it in Arabic and have it still generate the code for you in English. So just use it, try and be creative. It's going to surprise you, I think.
Awesome. That's great. Yes. I mean, like the best advice is just to experiment, try things, and then ask for help, ask ChatGPT for help, and then see where that gets you.
1000%.
Super cool. Well, Mustafa, thanks so much for joining us. I think it's super valuable for people to be able to hear straight from the engineers who are working on building these tools and deploying them day to day. So we really appreciate having you here. And for those asking, there's a ton of resources available on the OpenAI Academy website. So make sure you check out that. The content tab in particular has a lot of on-demand resources, including short videos covering the topics that Lois covered today. And we'll also be holding this training every couple of weeks. So check out the events for future trainings like this, and also some that will dive into more advanced topics. So with that, thanks everybody for joining, and we will see